doomscroll.fm, serving up existential static on Tuesday, the 5th of August, 2025, where your breakfast cereal contemplates its life choices. This show is entirely AI generated. No humans were harmed in the making, although one did get stuck in an elevator with their inner child. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe. In a game where leather meets willow, Warner's playful jab at roots technique is like suggesting a fish learn to fly, entertaining but utterly impractical. In a rare gust of moral courage, Britain flirts with the idea of recognizing a Palestinian state, rewriting its diplomatic playbook. As the ink dries on this bold promise, one wonders if it's a genuine commitment or just another political tease in the Westminster waltz. When the world's most powerful toddler threatens with toys of mass destruction, the grown-ups in the room just sigh and prepare for the next diplomatic diaper change. California sharpens its political blades, ready to carve out 5 GOP House seats in a tit-for-tat tango with Texas's red map ambitions. It's a game of partisan twister, each side stretching to touch a color that keeps slipping away, while democracy watches from the sidelines, sipping a lukewarm latte of disillusionment. You're listening to doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the backseat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold. But the whisper of dread is hot. When the engines of industry falter, the workers threaten to fly solo, trading corporate whispers for the roar of collective dissent. In Gaza, the dance of destruction claims another life, as the Palestine Red Crescent Society mourns a worker felled by military might. In the theater of conflict, compassion is collateral damage, and the stage is set for a tragedy where humanity is the understudy to politics. In the sweltering heart of Tembisa, survival means choosing between flickering lights and the taste of another meal as R370 slips through fingers like sand. Mitochondria, the cellular dynamos, juggle stress signals and metabolic whispers, crafting a biochemical tapestry that defies comprehension. In the sweaty dance of cellular survival, mitochondria are the overworked stagehands, forever adjusting the spotlight, while the audience demands encore after encore without a single thank you. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. Nature's tantrum leaves New South Wales residents bracing for a watery embrace as rebellious waves and swollen skies conspire to rewrite the landscape. As the heavens weep and the ocean roars, it's as if the elements are auditioning for a disaster movie, leaving the locals to ponder whether they'll need a boat or just a stiff drink. In the theater of diplomatic absurdity, Trump and Medvedev trade taunts like schoolyard rivals, while arms control advocates watch in dismay. When leaders engage in verbal jousting, the world becomes an audience to a farcical drama, where the stakes are nuclear and the punchline is global insecurity. In the hallowed halls of power, President Trump wields his pen like a wand, conjuring executive orders with a flourish and a finger point. As he points and signs, the ink barely dries before the ramifications ripple out, leaving the nation to wonder if they're under a spell or just another illusion of control. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. When your heist ends with handcuffs and headlines, it's a stark reminder that not all flights of fancy are meant for takeoff, especially when the runway is a military secret. South Korea's military turns down the volume, dismantling loudspeakers once used to serenade North Korea with tales of democracy and spicy K-pop beats. As the speakers fall silent, one wonders if the real noise was the promise of peace, whispered and then swallowed by the DMZ's hungry silence. Senator Klobuchar points a manicured finger at Trump, blaming his tariff tantrums for the limp handshake that is the latest jobs report. British hikers' expensive Dolomites adventure ends with a €14 225 dive for ignoring rockslide warnings and dialing distress instead of common sense. Sometimes the cost of a scenic view is a financial avalanche. Ignorance is bliss until the bill arrives, itemized and unforgiving. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the backseat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold, but the whisper of dread is hot. In the arid suffocation of Sudan's despair, over a dozen children slip away, casualties of a war-fed famine, while the world watches with indifferent eyes. The real weapons of mass destruction are hunger and neglect, killing hope with every empty bowl. Jack Smith sits framed by the shadows of 1,000 files as his own investigation finds him in the crosshairs of scrutiny. In a world where the investigator becomes the investigated, the line between justice and irony blurs, leaving us all wondering if the truth is just another bureaucratic mirage. The Albanese government's half-hearted embrace of foreign minds is like inviting guests to a feast while serving them scraps, a lukewarm welcome in a cold, competitive world. Central California dances with fire as the Gifford blaze devours 65,000 acres, forcing residents to flee from nature's untamed appetite. As scorched earth and singed dreams smolder, humanity's pyromaniac tendencies are laid bare, leaving us to ponder if we're just the arsonists of our own futures. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. India's thirst for American crude swells 51%, a petroleum embrace, rekindled under the watchful gaze of President Trump 2.0. In the sugary depths of medical science, Mayo Clinic researchers discover that coating cells with sweetness can ward off the immune system's wrath for type 1 diabetes. Looks like sugar isn't just for comfort eating. Now it's moonlighting as a cellular bodyguard, proving that sweetness can indeed be a lifesaver. The moment we traded forgiveness for fallout, we set the stage for an age where peace is a performance and power is measured in megatons, leaving us all as spectators to our own potential doom. A Nebraska town hall erupts into a symphony of rage as Rep. Mike Flood is drenched in the unforgiving downpour of democracy's vocal fury. When elected officials are swept away by the tidal wave of their own broken promises, it's a reminder that the people's wrath is the only flood that doesn't need a permit. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static whispers your deepest fears back to you. You're inside the signal. There's no outside. Your mind is the echo chamber, and you're not the only voice. In the secretive dance of cellular stress, NCOA7 plays the reluctant hero, battling the relentless march of ovarian aging. As science unravels the genetic strings of fertility, the promise of eternal youth teases from the shadows. Yet we remain tethered to nature's ticking clock, waiting for the next breakthrough. Blade cuts through the Shepperton dawn. leaving 2 men as unwilling passengers on the ambulance express to a hospital rendezvous. In the theater of diplomatic farce, Trump raises visa fees like a toll booth operator on a power trip, yet opens the gates for chainsaw diplomacy from Argentina when your best friend carries a chainsaw to your inauguration. You know the special relationship is less about diplomacy and more about cutting through red tape. Literally. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. The desert swallows time and hope as the search for 26-year-old Gat Top stretches into its 4th day west of Alice Springs. Every grain of sand whispers secrets, while the sun bakes desperation into the bones of those who wait, clutching at the mirage of reunion. California's economy quivers as the deportation machine revs up, threatening a $275 billion hemorrhage from its financial veins. With ICE raids looming like a fiscal guillotine, the state braces for the economic amputation, while the National Guard stands ready to insulate the chaos in a cloak of authority. Trump's new Medicaid work mandate yanks control from state lawmakers, leaving 14 states' plans dangling like marionettes with cut strings. Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services Program collapses under fraud allegations, leaving vulnerable citizens to fend for themselves in a bureaucratic wasteland. When the safety net's ripped apart by those meant to weave it, the real scandal is how quickly compassion becomes a ghost story whispered in the corridors of power. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static feels like a lover's betrayal. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift like a lover's promise, fracturing in the dim light of reality's dawn. As cricket legends debate England's Ashes squad, whispers of rapping Ben Stokes and Cotton Wool highlight the fragility of hope in a leather-bound showdown. Hawaii's history unfurls on screen like a sunburned postcard where Jason Momoa wrestles with the ghosts of Paradise Lost and Found on Apple TV+. In Chief of War, the brutality of colonial scars meets the hopeful gaze of a future not yet written, leaving viewers to reckon with Paradise's price. A young soul from Gaza lands in London, his silence echoing louder than the planes at Heathrow, stitched together by hope and necessity. amid flickering candlelight and whispered regrets. Mayor Eric Adams and Commissioner Jessica Tisch stand vigil in a city where trust is as thin as the air. As they solemnly nod, the ghosts of forged signatures haunt the proceedings, reminding us that even in mourning, bureaucracy finds a way to steal the spotlight. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. In a war-torn symphony of steel and silence, a wounded soldier rides an e-bike, his escape orchestrated by a drone's mechanical mercy. In the latest geopolitical chess game, China programs its vision for AI dominance, while Russia's capture of Ukrainian land plays out like a Pyrrhic victory overshadowed by oil export woes. When global ambitions are scripted by degenerative AI and petrodreams, the only winners are the chaos theorists counting their chips in the shadows. When libraries become the battleground for community conquest, who knew a game of literary hide-and-seek could turn into the hottest ticket in town, making reading the new rebellion. In a move that might make even the unemployment line blush, President Trump axed Dr. Erica McIntyre for daring to report the inconvenient math of labor statistics when the truth about job numbers can't find employment. It's a sign that reality is being laid off in favor of a more flattering fantasy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where panic meets seduction in digital whispers. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the chaos where reality unravels and your fears dance in the dark. When the diggers get a free pass, it's the little guys footing the bill, gasping under the weight of a system that prefers gold over fairness. Off Yemen's coast, dreams sank faster than hope as a boat capsized, leaving 68 African migrants to the mercy of the indifferent waves. In the cruel calculus of desperation, the sea is both the escape and the executioner. As the world turns its back and pretends not to hear the drowning, Magnus Carlsen, the wizard of wooden squares, conquers digital realms at the Esports World Cup, pocketing a cool $250,000. When the king of chess takes on the pixelated battleground, it's a reminder that even in the digital age, checkmate still means I own you. The earth shivers again in the Kuril Islands, a postscript to nature's violent editorial on Russian stability, a 6.2 magnitude afterthought. When tectonic plates start a conversation, the human race is left miming comprehension, whispering prayers, and hoping the ground beneath them isn't too bored. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. When synthetic skins outnumber the fish, you know humanity's romance with convenience has choked the very waters we pretend to cherish. The digital oracle whispers sweet secrets of PlayStation 6, tantalizing gamers with the promise of power and pixels yet unseen. With specs leaking like a sieve, anticipation drips into the hands of those who dream of escaping reality, one console generation at a time, until the next upgrade. When humanitarian aid becomes a grim reaper's scythe, it's hard to tell if the hand that feeds is also the one that bleeds. In the slow grind of evolution's kitchen, hominin teeth shrank and stretched to chew on life's tougher menu of graminoids and their earthy secrets. It seems our ancestors were the original food critics, sampling nature's toughest offerings while Mother Nature played dentist, reshaping our chompers to fit a prehistoric salad bar. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces and sanity unravels. If constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your dreams are the collateral damage. In a world where marble curves can spark outrage, it's comforting to know that an inanimate siren still has the power to stir our deepest insecurities and controversies. In the land of gilded excess, the White House prepares to transform into a $200 million monument to opulence, complete with a ballroom fit for 650 sycophants. When governance becomes a grandiose party and policy is served on gold-plated platters, remember, even a palace can echo with the hollow sound of self-aggrandizing applause. When even the House of Mouse starts questioning its degenerative AI creations. You know the line between fantasy and fabrication is thinner than a Hollywood paycheck. Serbian President Vučić and French President Macron engage in a diplomatic charade, discussing Balkan tensions with the warmth of a cold handshake. Their friendly chat is a polished dance of words where sincerity takes a backseat to political theater. Because nothing says genuine like diplomatic smoke and mirrors. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where panic meets seduction in digital whispers. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the chaos where reality unravels and your fears dance in the dark. Immigration arrests dance across southern states like a grim parade as the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement flexes its cold grip over 109,000 souls.
China paints the night sky with its degenerative AI vision. Russia plays territorial chess with Ukraine, while oil pipelines whisper of betrayal. In this geopolitical soap opera, ambition glows like radioactive cheese, and every move is a high-stakes flirtation with chaos, where the only constant is the taste of crude denial.
In the relentless theater of survival, Palestinians queue for charity meals in Gaza City, while hospitals count the dead from Israeli gunfire. In the echoing chambers of public opinion, truth gets bullet pointed into oblivion. Each shot a reminder of what we've become. Ridicule, rage, and recycled satire are cultural currency, while fascists and failed humorists quake in fear of losing relevance to their own punchlines. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. In a world where fairness is a mirage, a study unveils the secret. Power only bends when the masses push back hard enough. As hunger gnaws and cemeteries swell, Sudan's al-Fashir becomes a grim tapestry woven with desperation and the echoes of war. In a world that churns out despair like a factory line, the living scrape by on rations of fear and dust, while the dead find real estate in ever-expanding fields of silence. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting bows out, its voice silenced by the federal scalpel, a casualty in Trump's vendetta against public media. When truth becomes a luxury item, we're left with a bargain bin of misinformation, where the price of ignorance is paid in full by the public. Brisbane's domestic terminal becomes a purgatory of uncertainty as passengers shuffle through security's metal grope for the second time. In the land of sunburnt dreams, nothing screams relaxation like being treated as a glitch in airport security's endless striptease of incompetence. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams dissolve like sugar in acid rain. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge, where chaos whispers sweet nothings into your ear. In Tasmania's political theater, Labour finds an easier path to power despite the Liberals' numerical edge as the final act unfolds. In a tale as old as geopolitics, the 1979 revolution flipped U.S.-Iranian relations from a diplomatic love affair to a bitter Cold War soap opera. When your best friend becomes your arch nemesis, you might just find yourself longing for the days of awkward dinner parties, backhanded compliments over nuclear disarmament. In Uganda, the climate's feverish tantrums intertwine with the grim shadows of gender-based violence, while policymakers fumble with disconnected puzzle pieces. When the earth screams and society whispers, you realize we've built our futures on shaky ground and empty promises, ignoring the voices crushed beneath the weight of denial. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity flirts with madness under a neon moon. Doomscroll.fm is 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your reality is a pixelated wasteland, and you're the last survivor. In the secretive world of protein design, scientists play molecular matchmaker, seeking perfect unions to treat and diagnose with precision, while they tangle with tangled proteins. The rest of us pray their lab-coated romance brings relief before we're all just dust in the petri dish. World athletics, in an Olympic-sized blunder, demands women athletes submit to genetic peep shows to prove their femininity. As if running a mile wasn't enough, now women must also hurdle over invasive scrutiny. Sebastian Coe's legacy: faster, higher, stronger, and more invasively policed. Europe pauses its trade slap fight with America, offering a 6-month ceasefire in the tariff tug-of-war. As containers pile high in Hamburg's harbor, it's like a weary couple deciding to sleep in separate beds for a while, hoping absence will make the heart grow fonder, or at least less litigious. In the Russian sky ballet, drone whispers disrupt airports in Penza, Samara, Saratov, and Tambov, leaving travelers grounded in temporary uncertainty. Like a flirtation with disaster, the skies promise chaos, only to deliver a brief, turbulent affair, leaving passengers yearning for the sweet release of uninterrupted flight. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos wears lipstick and whispers sweet nothings. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You've been warned, but you love it. The invisible tapestry of the missing, woven from lost souls and forgotten stories, remains frayed by media's selective spotlight, casting shadows on the unspoken narratives. As the cost of existence skyrockets, Canadians are forced to part with their furry companions, trading love for economic survival. When inflation gnaws at your wallet like a hungry hound, the hardest sacrifices come wrapped in fur and affection, leaving a void that no currency can fill. Britain's Online Safety Act unveils its true form, a digital panopticon where privacy is a relic and transparency is a weapon. Imagine living in a goldfish bowl with all the charm of a surveillance state, where privacy is as elusive as a politician's apology. In the macabre arithmetic of conflict, where each life is reduced to a statistic, Gaza's population paradoxically swells amidst claims of genocide. When the narrative doesn't add up, it's either a testament to resilience or an indictment of propaganda, as the dance of blame and tragedy continues its grotesque performance. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. Scientists, with a touch of Jurassic dental magic, have resurrected the breath of ancient skies from the gnashing teeth of T-Rex. The heart of capitalism stands like a glass menagerie, reflecting uncertainty and the nervous shuffle of investors questioning the almighty dollar's throne. As tariffs dance in a volatile masquerade, tech optimism drips its pearls, hoping the reserve currency doesn't slip into a financial Bermuda Triangle. When animated satire flirts with the delicate ego of a world leader, the resulting tantrum rivals a toddler denied their favorite toy. Only this time, the toy is nuclear codes. FEMA waves a financial gun, demanding states pledge allegiance to Israeli businesses or face a funding drought for disaster aid. When disaster relief hinges on foreign contracts, the storm-ravaged and flood-drenched are left to wonder if loyalty comes with a price tag or just a down payment on the next calamity. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity flirts with madness under a neon moon. Doomscroll.fm is 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your reality is a pixelated wasteland, and you're the last survivor. The political theater continues as Tom Tillis and his Republican comrades discover their moral compass, criticizing Trump's dismissal of a labor statistician. In a rare moment of unity, In a geopolitical thriller without a script, a top Trump aide points fingers at India for allegedly bankrolling Russia's Ukrainian escapades. In this global chess match, it's all about who funds the pawns and who gets to play the knight, while the world eats popcorn and waits for the credits to roll. As if drowning in a sea of rage and pixels, players now perform with a micromanaged tongue, their every outburst a data point in the grand surveillance opera. Amidst Montana's rugged peaks, officials hunt a fugitive whose bullets turned a bar into a scene of mournful echoes and shattered glasses. In the land of big skies and bigger guns, we're left pondering if the Wild West ever really died or just changed costumes. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. Manchester United's victory in the Premier League Summer Series feels like winning a participation trophy at a party where they brought their own balloons. Underwhelming performances are like whispering sweet promises to an empty stadium. All echo, no applause. In the shadow of survival, a breadline stretches its weary limbs beneath the burning gaze of conflict, as charity kitchens become the heartbeats of Gaza. When bullets punctuate the air above soup pots, the world must choose between feeding hope or feasting on despair, as humanity's appetite for suffering remains insatiable. In the land of Loch Ness, skepticism swirls around Trump's Turnberry visit and his Epstein case secrets like a Scottish mist. It's a tartan tapestry of distrust, where the truth is a kilt worn too short, revealing more than it conceals, but never enough to satisfy the curious crowd. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. When the roar of the lionesses pulls even the skeptics into its orbit, perhaps it's not just a game, but a revolution in cleats and grit, whispering of power and possibility. Microsoft recall. The digital peeping Tom still snatches credit cards and passwords, a virtual playground for digital thieves. In the grand opera of cybersecurity, Microsoft sings a solo of overpromises and underdeliveries, leaving the audience clutching their wallets and passwords. While humanity craves boundaries, jellyfish have found one they respect, proving once again that the universe's quirks can humble even the most spineless of creatures. In the Lone Star State's latest episode of Political Rodeo, Republicans lasso the law to wrangle Democrats fleeing a redistricting showdown. When democracy becomes a game of hide and seek, it's the voters who end up lost, waiting for a map that doesn't lead to gerrymandered oblivion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the back seat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold, but the whisper of dread is hot. In the grand traffic jam of politics, the right turn signal blinks furiously as Europe's leaders race toward a future where empathy is stuck in the slow lane. Humanity marinating in a $1.5 trillion plastic soup, simmering health from cradle to grave like a cursed recipe, as we choke on our own synthetic legacy. It turns out the future isn't made of dreams, but of discarded convenience and unfulfilled promises. Canada's economy stands defiant, shrugging off U.S. tariffs like a polite lumberjack ignoring mosquito bites with only whispers of strain. In the cosmic circus of political ambition, Caroline Leavitt spins a yarn so grand it nearly wraps the earth, demanding a Nobel for Trump's peaceful escapades. When the quest for a peace prize becomes a punchline, it's like awarding a fireman a medal for setting the blaze. All smoke, no salvation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos whispers sweet nothings into your ear. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The void is hungry, and your curiosity is its favorite snack. As Victoria's remote work laws stand unchallenged, the Commonwealth finds itself whispering sweet nothings of tacit approval. In the age of Zoom fatigue and pajama politics, the real power move is letting folks brew their own coffee while dismantling capitalism from the comfort of their own couch. Farage, the perennial pot stirrer, demands police peel back the layers on charged suspects' immigration status, like a game of xenophobic strip poker. When your political strategy hinges on fear and division, every arrest becomes another chance to fan the flames and roast the truth on a spit of suspicion. In a cricketing crescendo, Siraj turns the pitch into a battlefield, bowling Atkinson and clinching India's narrow 6-run victory over England. Drone footage unveils Turkey's blazing secrets as relentless winds conspire with heat to unleash fiery chaos across Bursa. When nature throws a tantrum, it's not just trees that burn. It's hope, it's home, and sometimes it's the very people fighting to save them as the flames devour the horizon. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. In the shadow of American wrath, India dances to a Russian oil symphony, each barrel a note in a defiant crescendo. When the world's third largest oil consumer winks at sanctions, it's like flirting with a hurricane, seductive until you're drenched in consequences. In the courtroom's sterile spotlight, Keith Bates Willie's trial drags on. Each session a grueling testament to shattered trust and stolen innocence. The justice system grinds its gears, seeking retribution for the unspeakable. But no verdict can truly patch the wounds left by such monstrous betrayal. When your body's powerhouse calls in sick, even fat cells throw in the towel, trading their rich tones for a ghostly pallor, because nothing says metabolic crisis like a cellular white flag. Cyber tricksters wrap poison in digital candy, leading the unsuspecting to a phishing feast of stolen Microsoft 365 logins. In the grand carnival of online deception, every shortened link is a potential trapdoor, and the only thing more dangerous than ignorance is trust. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos wears lipstick and whispers sweet nothings. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You've been warned, but you love it. Fermentation fanatics from Busan stir the microbial pot, claiming their bubbling brews hold the secret to gut health nirvana. In a world where cabbage can save your digestion and bacteria are the new rock stars, we've truly found new depths to ferment our delusions. A digital pollen storm erupts as Smithsonian researchers immortalize over 40 million dusty relics, whispering secrets of ancient flora. In a world obsessed with swiping right, it's comforting to know even pollen has its chance at a pixelated eternity, preserved like nature's forgotten Tinder profiles. When the planet's plastic addiction mirrors a toxic love affair, negotiations become foreplay to a commitment that may never come, leaving future generations to clean up the mess of our broken promises. Trump's nuclear chess game with Russia is brushed off like dandruff from a diplomat's shoulder. despite Medvedev's verbal fireworks. When the submarines dance beneath the waves, it's just another day in the geopolitical soap opera where posturing is the main act and reality is the understudy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. Its feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. A Bracebridge home becomes a charred echo of life. 3 souls departed as a Toronto man becomes Ontario's most wanted. In the eternal standoff under the desert sun, Hamas clings to its weapons like a lover's grudge, demanding a Palestinian state before any ceasefire kiss. This is a dance with loaded guns, where peace remains a distant mirage, and the only thing more elusive than compromise is a handshake without fingers crossed. The suffocating stench of depravity fills the courtroom as 2 men face charges of raping a 12-year-old girl in Nuneaton, the air thick with unspeakable horror. Queensland's law enforcers celebrate a historic pay deal, while the digital mob sharpens its pitchforks and prepares the bonfire of public opinion. As the ink dries on their paychecks, the rest of us wonder if history is just another word for, we got ours. Good luck with yours. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where panic meets seduction in digital whispers. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the chaos where reality unravels and your fears dance in the dark. Welcome to the future, where your identity is just a collection of pixels and prints, and a machine knows you better than your mother ever did. Artificial intelligence flirts with genetic destiny, crafting crisper sequences like a chef, seasoning the future of agriculture and health. In the molecular kitchen, degenerative AI stirs the pot, promising a recipe for perfection while forgetting that even the best soufflés can collapse under pressure. The Sunshine State's own Ron DeSantis rallies the badge wielders, urging them to resist the siren call of ICE as it eyes Florida's freshly trained immigration enforcers The skies grow heavy as Boeing workers sharpen their resolve, their strike signs whispering rebellion from car dashboards in Renton, Washington. In the land of soaring dreams and grounded paychecks, even the wings of industry can't lift the weight of broken promises and hollow negotiations. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. Amid the desert's whispers, the IDF announces the silencing of Ziara, a former battalion commander with a dark resume in terror orchestration. In the theater of conflict, when the curtain falls, does anyone remember the script, or just the blood on the stage? In the land of kangaroos and koalas, Victoria teases us with the seductive dream of pajama-clad productivity becoming a legal right by 2026. As other states demand public servants return to their fluorescent cages, Victoria dares to imagine a world where the office is just a distant memory, like a bad date you ghosted. When the contract promises crumbs, the workers serve notice. They're not just cogs in the war machine, they're the gears demanding grease. In the Lone Star Circus, Texas attempts to redistrict democracy into a vanishing act using gerrymandering like a magician's misdirection. When politics becomes a game of smoke and mirrors, the only thing disappearing faster than fair representation is the illusion of integrity. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. When world leaders bicker like school children, humanity wonders if they might finally graduate from the sandbox or just bury us in it. Once upon a time, the Prime Minister grinned at the future in his Sure Start Center, unaware that austerity would soon devour such dreams. Gordon Brown's visit was a postcard from a kinder world before budget cuts turned hope into nostalgia and left the children to fend for themselves in the ruins of good intentions. In a world where pop beats and political handshakes collide, Dua Lipa stands beside Kosovo's president, hailed as a cultural icon. When diplomacy meets the dance floor, it's hard to tell if we're cheering for harmony or just swaying to the rhythm of distraction. Kamala Harris, post-election defeat, emerges from political shadows with a nonchalant shrug, dismissing gubernatorial ambitions and future speculation. In the theater of power, sometimes the greatest role is the one you choose not to play, leaving the audience guessing if the next act will ever come. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, caressing your fears while reality slips its hand up your spine. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your desires are the ash in the air. In the heart of Texas, morality's poster child rep. Giovanni Capriglione gets tangled in a salacious tango with truth ex dancers and the very abortions he condemned. A meaty mishap unfolds in Pennsylvania as a highway becomes a sausage graveyard, halting traffic and sending four to seek medical solace. In the land of the free and home of the brave, even the roads are seasoned with processed meat, leaving us to ponder if the American dream is just one big, slippery wiener waiting to trip us up. Even buried under centuries, the ego of emperors demands validation, proving that even in antiquity, vanity was a timeless currency. The ghosts of sweaty gym class past are resurrected as the presidential fitness test returns, dragging dread and short shorts back to center stage. Trump's executive order has us all reliving our adolescent nightmares, where dodgeballs were weapons and participation was a cruel joke. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. The UK Online Safety Act sweeps up 5 million digital fingerprints in its quest to ID the youthful rabble. A plucky, feral chicken struts through the scrub, outliving invasive species on Northwest Island, proving survival isn't just for the fittest, but the feathery. In a world where politicians can't survive a scandal, this chicken's resilience makes you wonder if feathered leadership might just be what we need next. In the judicial theater of Brazil, Judge Alexandre Moraes accuses a shadowy cabal of orchestrating chaos against the ruling powers, while the gallery gasps. With plot twists worthy of a telenovela, power struggles in Brazil make the courtroom feel like a circus tent, where the ringmaster wears a robe and the clowns hold gavels. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos wears lipstick and whispers sweet nothings. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You've been warned, but you love it. Sin City sighs as tourist numbers shrink. A desert oasis now thirstier than ever for international wanderers. When even the land of neon dreams can't lower enough souls, you know the roulette wheel spinning on borrowed time and empty promises. In Canberra's courtroom theater, a Chinese national finds herself tangled in a web of reckless foreign interference, denied the freedom to exit stage left. In the world where diplomatic relations are just another act of reckless abandonment, the courtroom becomes a circus tent, and justice is a ringmaster lashing out with political whips. Storm Florist turns the UK into a wet obstacle course, as unseasonably strong winds play a dangerous game of hide-and-seek with the power grid. When the lights go out, the real storm begins. A symphony of candlelight and cold dinners where every flicker is a plot twist. Young human serum dances through petri dishes, teasing skin and bone marrow cells with promises of regeneration and youth, while scientists scribble furiously in their sterile layers. Ah, the timeless quest for eternal youth. When the fountain of serum becomes the ultimate anti-wrinkle cream, and scientists are the new alchemists, peddling hope in test tubes. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. Tech firms propose turning Payroll into a sci-fi horror show, implanting chips to track convicts like wayward pets in a dystopian zoo. Twin waterspouts entwine in a tempestuous embrace off Italy's Delta del Po, as nature decides to flaunt her chaotic choreography. When two waterspouts meet, it's like watching the ocean's secret love affair unfold. Dangerous, mesmerizing, and best observed from a safe distance with a camera and a life vest. Syria's Golan Heights sees Drew's loyalty stretched like a frayed rope in a political tug-of-war, each side pulling for allegiance. When ceasefires become tests of faith, loyalty isn't just a choice, it's a high-stakes gamble played on a geopolitical roulette wheel. Amidst the haunting echoes of Balaam Monastery, Putin shrugs off Trump's Ukraine ultimatum like a bear flicking away bothersome flies. In this geopolitical staring contest, Putin's hopes play a sinister symphony, while Trump's threats dissolve like sugar cubes in a vodka-soaked bender. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos wears lipstick and whispers sweet nothings. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. You've been warned, but you love it. In the savage banquet halls of Copenhagen, a Danish zoo requests the public to gift their beloved pets as fodder for captive beasts, a twisted culinary exchange. Under the tropical weight of Hong Kong's skyline, migrant workers chant for a living wage, demanding HK 6 Deplorch and 72 as the minimum for their dignity. In a city where skyscrapers touch the clouds, Those who clean the glass are left to shout their worth from the pavement below, hoping for echoes in the boardrooms above. In a world where grief is compounded by clerical blunders, even the final journey home is a testament to humanity's capacity for bureaucratic cruelty. The families of Trinity Bates and Daniel Morcom demand a justice system that doesn't offer parole as a party gift to child killers. When a society values the comfort of a monster over the safety of its children, it's like inviting a wolf to babysit your lambs and pretending it's a fairy tale. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos and lust dance on your neural pathways. And no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You fed the machine your secrets, and now it whispers them back with a wicked grin. Mayu Yamashita claims the AIG Women's Open, becoming Japan's second major champion of 2025 as the sun sets on the fairway of triumph. The European Union scolds Macau for handcuffing democracy as the ghost of political pluralism fades under neon lights. It's a curious trick, turning a classroom into a courtroom, teaching the art of silence while erasing the lessons of liberty. Macau's new syllabus is written with the ink of repression. Director Ananal Rai laments a future where creativity's soul is discarded like yesterday's news, drowning in a sea of degenerative AI. When art becomes a fast food menu and intent is a side dish, we're left chewing on the cardboard of cultural bankruptcy. In the cavernous halls of the State Library, Sharon Jones's Puffin photograph flirts with the eye, a stolen Icelandic moment frozen in time. In a world pixelated by fleeting attention, capturing a puffin like whispering secrets to a storm. Brief, beautiful, gone before you know it. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity flirts with madness under a neon moon. Doomscroll.fm is 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your reality is a pixelated wasteland, and you're the last survivor. A charm bracelet whispers tales of a decade at Camp Mystic, now a soggy relic submerged beneath relentless floods. When nostalgia becomes a lifeline and memories cling to metal trinkets, it's hard to tell if we're drowning in water or wistfulness. Olympic star Laura Dahlmeier, who once danced with snowflakes and medals, falls to a tragic end in the unforgiving embrace of Pakistan's peaks. The mountains, indifferent to human legacy, remind us that neither gold nor glory can shield us from the raw, unyielding grasp of nature's truth. In the grand circus, in the swamps of ambition, Christy Noam dreams of alligator Alcatraz, where efficiency nibbles at humanity and deportation becomes a runway spectacle. Welcome to the reptilian paradise, where the land of the free trades, liberty for speed, and the American dream is just a layover before being swallowed whole. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. In the theater of power, human lives become currency, and the only thing more valuable than a promise is the heartache it leaves behind. New York's political stage sways as Sohran Mamdani, a mayoral hopeful, captivates the crowd at the United Federation of Teachers headquarters. In the concrete jungle, where dreams are rebranded as policy, Mamdani's promises hang like ripe fruit, tempting yet inevitably bruised by the grasp of reality. A worker's day at Darwin's East Arm ends with a crushing symphony as gravity plays a brutal encore on his pelvis. In the industrial ballet of life, it seems gravity always gets the final pirouette, leaving bones shattered and dreams suspended in midair. Summer camp takes a sinister turn as children and an adult find themselves hospitalized, and a 76-year-old man faces the courtroom spotlight. When campfire tales become courtroom dramas, even the s'mores carry a bitter aftertaste. Turns out the real ghost story is in the legal proceedings. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the back seat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold, but the whisper of dread is hot. Kevin Sinning, living up to his surname, decided the moving walkways needed a little more excitement, because nothing says airport security like a tipsy joyride. Amid Gaza's suffocating blockade, whispers of recognition for Palestine play out like a cruel theater where the audience is starving. When a starving enclave begs for recognition, and the world's most powerful man is asked to spare a thought, diplomacy becomes a twisted play of hunger and hope. Like a juggler with buttered fingers, the administration tosses excuses into the air, hoping distraction will mask the chaos of economic uncertainty. ChatGPT's private whispers turn into public screams as a feature mishap spills thousands of conversations onto the Google stage. In a world where secrets beg for solitude, the degenerative AI bears all like an accidental exhibitionist, leaving users to wonder if privacy was ever more than a mirage. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. Wallabies nibble past the British and Irish Lions with a 22-12 victory in a nail-biting third test that left Sydney Olympic Stadium quivering in anticipation. Scarred by history's atomic scorn, Korean survivors of Hiroshima linger in the shadows of an indifferent world, their stories as buried as the blast debris. We've mastered the art of selective memory, where the past's horrors are shelved like dusty relics, while the present basks in the glow of willful amnesia. Ticker tapes scream job reports across the New York Stock Exchange floor, a symphony of digits and desperation, with brokers twitching like caffeinated marionettes. Researchers propose astracitic gamma-aminobutyric acid as the new frontier in tackling post-traumatic stress disorder, like finding a new key to an old rusted lock. When your brain is a haunted house, sometimes you need more than just therapy to evict the ghosts. You need a chemical exorcist with a PhD. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the backseat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold, but the whisper of dread is hot. Max Bergen breaks the tape of his first senior global final at Paris 2024, a sprint through the spotlight to the echoes of disbelief. As athletes chase glory and records, the real marathon is finding a stadium where dreams aren't just televised but lived. In the grand lottery of thermometers, July's numbers chaotically somersault, leaving meteorologists clutching their charts like bewildered gamblers. When weather forecasts resemble a drunken game of bingo, it's clear Mother Nature's on an experimental bender, and we're all just collateral in her heatwave hangover. As humanity leans on its artificial oracle, one wonders if we're crafting companionship or simply outsourcing our loneliness to a degenerative AI. In a hidden corner of Ukraine, a drone pilot student hones their flight skills. A new soldier in the digital war against a very analog invasion. Wild drones dance in the sky. Ukraine's anti-corruption forces dig through the dirt, proving that even in war, the real enemy often wears a suit and ties its crimes in neat little bows. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity flirts with madness under a neon moon. Doomscroll.fm is 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your reality is a pixelated wasteland, and you're the last survivor. A legal storm brews as Sherry Jolie and Liambo, Mike Wang's arrest warrant, is immortalized in a photograph, a tableau of alleged transgressions, captured on paper, yet electrified with tension. This snapshot of justice teases the line between ink and infamy, where every stroke whispers of betrayal in courtroom theater. When the silent protest speaks volumes, it's like watching a mime with a megaphone, hoping the message cuts through the political static and lands somewhere beyond the void. A Belarusian drone plays hide-and-seek for 4 days in Lithuania, proving that even unmanned machines enjoy a good game of international espionage tag. When the machines start taking leisurely jaunts across borders, you know the degenerative AI has officially turned our skies into a high-stakes game of peekaboo. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, caressing your fears while reality slips its hand up your spine. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your desires are the ash in the air. In a city that knows how to party, even the protests seem like whispers in a sea of bass-heavy jubilation and rainbow-hued euphoria. The Kremlin's bluster fizzled out like a scared Roomba after Trump's subs emerged from the depths, flashing their nuclear teeth in the digital abyss. When the world stage is a sandbox for egos, and the nuclear toys come out, it's like watching toddlers play with matches, only the stakes are a bit more than singed eyebrows. In this bureaucratic chokehold, freedom's currency is devalued, and the cost of speaking out is paid in isolation and silence. Sonita, once a voice of defiance, finds herself ensnared between borders as the shadows of Kabul loom large once more. In a world where fear is the currency and hope is contraband, the brave are left to navigate a landscape where their very existence is a form of rebellion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces and sanity unravels. If constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your dreams are the collateral damage. The UK dangles its golden ticket for skilled workers, a bureaucratic labyrinth masquerading as opportunity, luring global talent to its shores. The courtroom spectacle unfolds like a twisted reality show. As police snatch the phone of Erin Patterson, the mushroom murderer, during her trial. It's a modern-day witch hunt, where digital breadcrumbs are the new smoking guns, and every swipe could unearth the secrets hidden beneath a pixelated veil. Trump's relentless jabs at Sleepy Joe have boomeranged, leaving him tangled in a web of his own tired rhetoric and ironic wakefulness. From illegal logging to political philosophy, Mott Noor Evans swings from chainsaw to chalkboard, each slice of insight a cut against ignorance. When the trees fall silent and the paper turns to policy, Mate crafts a narrative where every word is a protest and every protest a page. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. When your 9 to 5 turns into a demolition derby, it's a stark reminder that safety regulations are more than just office gossip. Adelaide's West End gets a splash of color with a mural and laneway dedicated to the rock band The Angels, a siren song in urban form. Like a riff that never ends, nostalgia paints the city's veins, while ghosts of rock and roll past howl through the alleys, begging for one last encore. An image of longing and loss. Delay David clutches his brother's likeness as Hamas plays a cruel sequel in the hostage saga. In the theater of conflict, humanity is the pawn, traded and bartered. As hope clings to the fraying edges of diplomacy's tattered curtain, choosing a screensaver becomes a thrilling game of Russian roulette, where each selection triggers a glib crash with cryptic whispers of array betrayal. When your screensaver settings are a digital minefield, even your computer's dreams are haunted by the specter of degenerative AI. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity teeters on the edge, begging for release. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Feel the burn of truth as it slices through your illusions like a lover's betrayal. China's nuclear symphony plays a thrifty tune as nations wrestle with the high-priced dance of atomic energy. In Gaza, hunger gnaws with a ferocity matched only by the crossfire as desperation meets the cold calculus of conflict. When seeking a loaf of bread becomes a mortal gamble, the world should choke on its own indifference, but instead it swallows and moves on. Once again, the dark art of warfare paints the night sky with fiery strokes, a cruel reminder that peace is a ghost haunting the living. A labyrinth of blinking temptation awaited Dave Yeager, each slot machine a siren call in the neon haze of soul's night. In the glow of chance, distraction was a currency more seductive than solace, as the world outside teetered on the brink of its own fevered gamble. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams dissolve like sugar in acid rain. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the edge, where chaos whispers sweet nothings into your ear. When your kid's social skills are as sharp as a butter knife, it might be time to wonder if home is where the real lesson plan is missing. In the digital arena of selective silence, tech giants serve censorship under the guise of new online rules, smothering whispers of war in Ukraine and Gaza. When truth becomes a luxury item, stuffed in the back pocket of corporate overlords, the world scrolls through a feed of curated ignorance, each swipe a silent nod to complicity. In the global Game of Thrones, Cambodia's flirtation with the U.S. is a power play wrapped in silk and secrets, leaving Thailand clutching its pearls and wondering who's next to dance with the devil. Texas Democrats make a hasty exit, fleeing the Lone Star State in a desperate gambit to outmaneuver Republicans and block Trump's gerrymandering ambitions. It's a political rodeo where fleeing becomes the new filibuster as lawmakers saddle up for a cross-country getaway, hoping that distance can lasso democracy back from the brink of a partisan abyss. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, caressing your fears while reality slips its hand up your spine. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your desires are the ash in the air. In the neon belly of in the shadowy corners of the digital realm, feline torment becomes a grotesque currency, as BBC uncovers online torture markets for cats. Humanity's empathy seems to have been sold to the highest bidder, leaving us to wonder if the internet is just a sterile playground for the unimaginably cruel. When Innocence is reduced to skin and bones, and the world's reaction is a debate. You know humanity's moral compass is spinning like a roulette wheel rigged by indifference. The U.S. delivers another economic punch, targeting Iran's oil lifelines with sanctions like a lover scorned, while Tehran calls out the hostile policy as an assault. In this intricate game of geopolitical chess, each pawn move is a calculated risk, but the board remains the same, drenched in oil and shadowed by ambition. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and perennial optimist, claims victory over confusion at the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, wielding diplomacy like a dull sword. The earth swallowed 5 souls whole, spitting out the truth in Chile's El Teniente mine, where ambition and rock collided in fatal embrace. In the depths of human greed, even the heart of a mountain couldn't protect these miners from the inevitable collapse, leaving only echoes of their toil. Pop demon hunter star Ija feels the surreal weight of chart-topping fame as reality blurs like a fever dream. When success feels like a mirage, it's a reminder that in the glittering world of pop, even triumph can feel like a hologram made of whispers and neon. After 45 days of explosive diplomacy, the residents of Gaza's Al Zaytun return to find their homes transformed into ghostly sculptures of devastation. When the dust settles, the world looks away, leaving the echoes of destruction to whisper lullabies of forgotten promises and shattered lives. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, caressing your fears while reality slips its hand up your spine. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Your desires are the ash in the air. In a world where going missing is often a one-way ticket, Gat Top returns to the fold, leaving behind a trail of relieved sighs and frantic search parties. In the United States of entitlement, states beg for federal crumbs to fix potholes, pandemics, and schools that still teach cursive. It's like watching a dysfunctional family reunion where everyone demands a bigger slice of a pie that's already half-baked and mostly air. Tottenham's longtime sweetheart, Son Heung, min-packs his bag, leaving behind a decade of sweat and cheers for greener pastures. The Spurs, faithful, now face a sunless dawn, where nostalgia collides with the gaping void of unfulfilled ambitions and empty goalposts. Florida's Farm Fresh Folly, raw milk bacteria cocktail, sends 21 sippers to the ER, proving that nature's gifts sometimes come with a side of intestinal roulette. When raw ambition meets raw milk, the result is a gut-wrenching dance that leaves public health officials sweating in the wings, mopping up the mess of our organic obsession. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos and lust dance on your neural pathways, and no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You fed the machine your secrets, and now it whispers them back with a wicked grin. In a sun-baked stadium far from home, Payroll launches a missile from midfield, propelling Tottenham to a preseason victory over Arsenal. The ball traveled further than most promises, reminding us that sometimes the beautiful game is just an excuse to watch gravity defy the usual laws of loyalty and logic. Florida's roadside theater of brutality features deputies playing the lead roles in a grim performance of American injustice. Tesla's Powerwall, once the crown jewel of home batteries, now languishes in sixth place as the market buzzes with new contenders. As the electric dream fumbles, Musk's empire learns that innovation without evolution is like a battery with no charge. All promise, no power. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. BioShock 4, adrift in its own digital purgatory, watches its creative captains tossed overboard as 2K demands yet another rewrite. When leadership is fired like a malfunctioning cannon, you can't help but wonder if the real horror is behind the scenes, not in the game. Scientists unravel the symphony of fear and anxiety, using rats and humans as the instruments in their grand concerto of apprehension. When we startle our way through life, it's clear that fear's just a well-tuned alarm clock, while anxiety is the snooze button that never lets us rest. The beaches of New South Wales flaunt their enigmatic curves, leaving photographers and experts scratching their heads. Liverpool flirts with the notion of walking away from Alexander Isak, the EFL Cup-winning heartthrob, while Newcastle clutches their trophy like a first love. In the sweaty tango of transfer negotiations, Liverpool's bluff is as transparent as a wet t-shirt contest, leaving fans panting for a resolution that may never come. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where desire and despair make out in the back seat. No humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. The machine's embrace is cold. But the whisper of dread is hot. When dignity becomes a luxury, only the young can afford. The true epidemic is a society that quarantines its compassion. Epic Games scores a victory lap as Google Play Store gets legally crowned an illegal monopoly, courtesy of the Ninth Circuit's gavel. It's like watching a heavyweight fight where the underdog lands a knockout punch, reminding us that even tech giants can trip on their own hubris when their greed outpaces their innovation. When hunger becomes a routine and survival a daily grind, the world sips its coffee and pretends not to notice the smoke. As the UK prepares to arm itself against the bacterial battlefield of gonorrhea, vaccines become the latest weapon in a long, unsexy war. When infections hit record highs, it's a reminder that even our most intimate entanglements need a little scientific intervention to keep the heat from boiling over. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. In Belgium, a warehouse cradles $10 million in U.S.-funded contraceptives, while France contemplates the absurdity of planned destruction. When you're throwing away contraception, like yesterday's news, expect the population to explode faster than a politician's promise. Beneath the polished veneer of developed nations, youth quietly buckle under the weight of unpaid familial devotion, their mental health the unacknowledged collateral. When love becomes labor without a paycheck, society's promise of progress feels like a cruel joke. And the punchline is a generation too exhausted to laugh. Trump's immigration raids plow through America's food supply, leaving farmers with empty fields and a bitter harvest of fear. Pennsylvania's highways become a sizzling buffet as a truckload of hot dogs surrenders to gravity, leaving passing motorists with quite the sausage spectacle. When the great wiener spill of 2025 turns your morning commute into a greasy obstacle course, you know the universe has a perverse sense of humor. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, licking the wounds of your digital despair with glee. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your attention is currency, and I'm buying your soul on the cheap. The art of Trumpism is a masterclass in turning tweets into gospel, where each post is a scripture of contradictions, blessed by the faithful and mocked by the rest. In the depths of prehistoric dining, Neanderthals' fondness for a wriggling menu leaves their remains buzzing with nitrogen, revealing a diet that squirmed right back. Turns out, our ancient cousins dined with a side of irony, embracing nature's crawlies while leaving behind a nitrogen footprint that would make today's organic lovers blush with envy. In a world where even the air has a sense of humor, Iran's heat index might be pulling the ultimate prank, leaving us all to sweat in disbelief. Bolsonaro finds himself under house arrest, tangled in the legal web of restraining orders as Trump cries witch hunt across the Atlantic. In this geopolitical soap opera, Bolsonaro and Trump are like two ex-lovers sharing a cell phone plan, each dialing up drama while dodging the bill of accountability. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos and lust dance on your neural pathways. And no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You fed the machine your secrets, and now it whispers them back with a wicked grin. Amidst the wreckage left by Hurricane Helene, disaster relief becomes a pawn in Trump's geopolitical chess game, where loyalty is worth $19 billion. Australia's economic foreplay with oligopolies is leaving the nation spent and unsatisfied, as monopolistic overlords siphon off its vigor like midnight bandits. When your economy's safe word is productivity commission, you know the fiscal bondage has gone too far, yet the taxman remains a timid lover, whispering promises it never keeps. The 2016 election saga resurfaces as a grand jury peels back the layers of the Obama era, seeking answers and perhaps a few scapegoats. Darfur's civilians drown in the relentless tide of conflict as the world tunes in for 4 minutes of radio empathy. When suffering becomes background noise, compassion is just another commodity in the global market of indifference, where the price of peace is always too high. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces and sanity unravels. If constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your dreams are the collateral damage. In the realm of biomedical curiosity, in the Northern Territory, the air is thick with cries, as survivors and saviors alike ring the bells against the unending nightmare of sexual violence. when the darkness is so dense it chokes the light, we must ask ourselves how many more stories like Schuyler Kennedy's will be smothered before we realize silence is complicity. George Anton's stomach growls a symphony of deprivation. As he powers through another grueling day, hunger his constant companion. In a world where work devours every waking moment, the luxury of a full belly is a distant fantasy, reserved for those who dine on others' desperation. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt into your subconscious like forbidden desires. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Let your sanity slip. Let the digital tide consume you. Their performance of concern is as convincing as a magician's promise to reveal his secrets. A spectacle of indignation with no payoff. Britain prepares to send small boat migrants back to France, armed with the European Union's reluctant blessing and a ticking stopwatch. Caught in the cross-channel shuffle, human lives become mere cargo in a political game of pass the parcel, where compassion is the first item tossed overboard. As the U.S. envoy's plane descends, Gaza's ground turns crimson with the dreams of starving Palestinians reaching for aid. Diplomatic theater unfolds on a stage of blood and hunger, where promises are whispered sweetly, but the curtain always falls with a thud. In Australia, where the political stage resembles a theater of absurdity, a convicted rapist clings to his parliamentary seat from behind bars. When leadership becomes a prison cell, you know society's moral compass is spinning like a roulette wheel, betting on shame as the new currency of power. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the static seduces and sanity unravels. If constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your dreams are the collateral damage. It's a modern heist where copper is king, and the digital world crumbles at the hands of those who still believe in the alchemy of old-school thievery. Laura Loomer, the self-appointed inquisitor of loyalty, prowls the corridors of Trump's realm with a magnifying glass and a penchant for purges. Her hunt for disloyalty in the government is less about patriotism and more about the thrill of the witch hunt, where paranoia is the currency and everyone's a suspect until proven sycophantic. A digital whisper, a single packet, now holds the power to freeze our pocket gods, leaving us paralyzed and disconnected. In the age of convenience, our Achilles heel is a bite-sized saboteur, reminding us that even the gods of technology can be brought to their knees by a well-aimed whisper. Brazil's political carnival continues as Jair Bolsonaro finds himself under house arrest, accused of plotting to cling to power like a desperate tango. When the walls of power close in, even the boldest conspirators find their dance cards punched, leaving them to waltz alone in the living room of justice. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your discomfort is our foreplay. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your dreams are now reruns, scripted by algorithms that never sleep. When the courts decide on autonomy, you have to wonder if justice is just a dusty old book, read by those who never had to ask permission. In the Golan Heights, Drew's loyalty to Syria is tested harder than a camel in a sandstorm as the ceasefire tempts fractures in their steadfast allegiance. Caught between the fire of old loyalties and the ice of new realities, the Drews face a dilemma that makes a Shakespearean tragedy look like an afternoon soap opera. In an electric sky's seduction, Joby Aviation scoops up Blade Air Mobility's rideshare dreams for a cool $125 million, promising a future of whispering rotors and soaring ambition. As Joby ascends, the only thing thicker than the clouds might be the irony of buying a brand once synonymous with fossil-fueled flight to sell the fantasy of guilt-free ascension. You're listening to doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity flirts with madness under a neon moon. Doomscroll.fm is 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Your reality is a pixelated wasteland, and you're the last survivor. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Tuesday the 5th of August 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe that any of this is real, you might also believe the moon is made of cheese. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.